Howdy, on X Lives. I think it's time to play a little 7 Days to Die. Alright, I am working on the garden here. See, oh, I can't do it because there's the window. Sill? Do I know what the word is for those? Window ledge? Isn't that? It's got to have a real name, right? A window. A window. I don't know. Yep, I was right. It's a windowsill. Huh. For a minute there, I was thinking it's an exterior windowsill. I was like, man, is this part here the windowsill? Because I actually think this part is the windowsill. Clank, 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 clank. Yeah, I was trying to think if I had anything really went down this week. I don't think much happened this week for me at all. I worked, and that was it. Oh, you know what? We did play D&D. We did play D&D Wednesday night. It was the other guy running D&D, and I don't know that a whole lot happened. We keep getting later and later when we start, so it was well after 10 by the time we got rolling, and we usually quit around like 11:30, 11:45, somewhere in there. And so we actually didn't do a whole lot. What are the chances that I could take down this tower without collapsing the rest of my base? So we had left off getting all right, so we got to floor 13, and when we got on floor 13, there was a group of hobgoblins, right? And the hobgoblins are like, we want the ring that can control these metal scorpions. And so we agreed. Now, I say we agreed. I don't often put input into what the plans are. Because I feel like some of the other people don't get to play D&D as much as I have, and so I would like them to be able to guide the story. Uh, Not that there's a story in what we're doing, but um, to push us in the direction that they would like to go, because I'm pretty chill when it comes to what are we gonna do, and so I let them figure out what they want for us to do, which directions they want us to go, that kind of thing. I might put some input if we're trying to make a big decision, but when it comes to just exploring and stuff, I usually let them run the conversations and things like that. And so we had we talked to those guys, and they want this ring from this wizard. And so we headed over in the direction they said the wizard was, and he turned out to be this gnome who likes to make things. And I swear he told us that he had things for sale last time we played, but I really don't remember, and I didn't write it down. And because our DM, both as a DM and a player, changes everything that happened every time we play. Um, every time we play, his characters have different reasonings and knowledge and stuff like that when he's the player, and when he's the DM, we don't know what we're getting from moment to moment half the time. And uh, so we went and talked to the wizard guy. That was last time, and he said that he wanted us to deal with the hobgoblins because they were harassing him, and so he was going to give us some magic paint and some money, maybe. I don't remember. We are so overblown wealthy that if money was the reason behind us going places, um, I wouldn't need to, because I've got so much money now. And so, okay, I'm going to go in and get some coffee to try and speed this up a little bit. Oh, I haven't put the rest of the ladder up yet. Cook food. There we go. So that's where we left off the previous session. So we picked up there, and I believe I had mentioned before how we were talking to this wizard, and even though he's a high-level wizard, doing high-level constructs, he had some really baby names for stuff. Fire children and the mean red guys in armor, And so I looked in the book, as I often do once we're done playing. And it turns out that we had seen his pet giant badger. And the book says that the pet giant badger, if you use a speak with animals ability, oh no, will say the baby name stuff for the creatures. Not the wizard, the badger. And only if you use speak with animals. And we don't have speak with animals. And so there's no way we should have had the conversation we had. But, our DM. And so so when we started, he this week he called that wizard a goofball. And and I was just thinking, man, it's totally not how that was supposed to go down. And then and so then we he told us about like everything on the floor and how if we go one direction, there's the metal scorpions. If we go the other direction, there's this giant construct that'll kill us and stuff like that. And so they were discussing whether or not we should go back and kill the hobgoblins. Uh, and so it was decided that we were just going to move on to the next floor, which I'm sure made our DM happy because he doesn't like us to level up. And we're about halfway through our level, and given the amount of things that were going on that floor, we probably could have leveled up by finishing off the stuff on that floor, but they would have been super difficult fights. There was a floor like this once before. I honestly don't understand the point of them. Like, I, I really don't like this adventure that we're playing, and I mean, I'm gonna see it through to the end because that's the way I am. But I hate it. I don't hate playing. Oh no, I don't hate playing. I wish I wish all the parts of an adventure were available. And as I've mentioned on multiple occasions, this one is severely lacking in the storyline part of what's going on. And so, like, again, there's a great possibility for a storyline. I don't understand why it's not there, is the thing. Usually an adventure has a storyline. Uh, I've never played through one like this before that doesn't have one. And so multiple floors have been involved with this particular drow house and the House of Freth. And so I don't understand why there's not a story about the House of Freth trying to take over the dungeon or something, because they're everywhere. Like, I'm pretty sure we fought our first group of drow on like floor 3 or so. And there's like 23 floors to this dungeon, so it's a massive dungeon. And so I don't understand why there isn't more of a thing tying the floors together. I can only think of twice where an actual connection between floors occurs. Um, there are some quests where you'll get it on one floor and you have to complete it on a different floor, but that doesn't necessarily tie the floors together. That just is you can't find the piece you're looking for on this particular quest on this floor. But we've only had like 4 quests like that. 4 quests and 14 floors, right? So we're not getting a lot of instructions on where to go, what to do, kind of thing. Well, why did this not collapse? These windows holding everything up? Yes, yes, they are. The windows are holding everything up. And so uh so yeah, so we get on this floor, and we had dealt with hobgoblins on a previous floor. And so again, the hobgoblins apparently are at war with this House Freth. But it's never been mentioned before floor 14? Like, why was this not a thing through the whole dungeon? I don't understand. Or, I mean, really the big thing about the dungeon is that there's a super powerful wizard named Hallister in the D&D lore. And so this particular dungeon, Hallister's clone, who's crazy, runs this dungeon. and a lot of experiments have taken place on the people in the dungeon. And so there could have been that whole storyline of, you know, crazy Hallister's clone and maybe actually like him trying to repel the adventurers who are searching for treasure or something, but there's not. You just go from floor to floor. The two times that a floor has connected to another floor directly, uh, we we got attacked by a necromancer who was guarding the route to the floor below. Uh, and so he mentioned that he belonged to the floor below. So that was one connection. And then the floor we were on, floor 13, the hobgoblins there said that they came from a city on the floor below. And so we got introduction papers from them, which I don't think we should have because I feel like that was pretty shady business that my teammates decided to go with, and the DM didn't do anything about it. Um, and that was we had agreed to do this mission for the hobgoblins, and then we didn't even respond to it. Like we just were like, yeah, we're going to the floor below. See ya. And they didn't care. Hey, look at that. It did not collapse my base. I didn't think it would, but you never know. Um, but yeah, so it was weird because after we agreed to kill the wizard, then we went and talked to the wizard and we agreed to kill the hobgoblins, and then we wandered around the map for a little bit. Oh, we did go. There was this place. We found the Azer, which they were being called fire something. I don't remember. I keep saying children, but I don't think it was children, because we also faced off against the fire children, and those things are terrible. They may be the dumbest bad guys I've ever come across in D&D, and um, so we found a giant scrap mountain of metal, and it had tunnels in it, and so I wanted to look inside the scrap to see if maybe there were some items in there, and as soon as we entered the scrap, we got attacked by the things that live in the scrap. They're called lava children, and they are immune to metal. Like, nothing in the game is immune to metal like that. So I don't know what we were supposed to do to get past them. Um, because they're not small creatures. I mean, they are small creatures in that sense, but they're not like low amount of hit points creatures. And so we didn't have the firepower to take them down without weapons. Uh, because nobody had non-metal weapons uh, of any kind. Like, I feel like technically you probably should have been able to shoot them with arrows, but the DM said that. I mean, I didn't press it. Um, but the DM said that the arrows didn't do any damage when they were fired. And I could see that going either way, and obviously our DM doesn't like us to win, as per many conversations over this game that I've had. And so he told the bard that he didn't do any damage when he shot him with his arrows. Now, on the one hand, no, there's just no way that an arrow couldn't hurt these things. Um, yes, the arrow head is probably metal, but I don't think the arrow shaft would be metal. So so while so while the arrow head might not do any damage, you still have that arrow shaft passing through your body. Um, which means that you're still going to have the wound from being shot, even if the metal part, like maybe you would have to change the arrow damage from being piercing to blunt, and maybe you reduce that damage, but it's still gonna be damaged by the wood. In fact, I think now that I think through it, yes, I do think we could have killed them if we had used our bows and arrows, because we all have magic bows. Um, and again, while the arrowhead might not have done any damage, the rest of it. But yeah, so fire children, metal weapons didn't work. DM said arrows didn't work. That left us with only spell casting that would work. And as my character is the only spellcaster, I just I didn't have enough spell slots to try and take out that many things. Okay, I hear you. I'm afraid it's oh, it's right here. Yeah, so after we left that, then we went down to the next floor, and we attacked some minor creatures, and then got attacked by a weird creature that was a laboratory experiment, I guess, by somebody. And so we had to kill that because it was crazy. And like mad crazy. Like it couldn't be reasoned with, it couldn't think at that point. It was broken. And so we fought that, although it was weak and it went down pretty quickly. And then I really should be taking these out, not the ones above it. And then after we did that, we came around to some doors that Oof. I like the new look. I like the creepy open mouth with fangs she got going there. I don't, however, like her horde trying to bust down my base. Um, and then we dealt with the fact that the thief on our team has a dagger of blind sense, which is an unbelievably powerful item. Uh, Especially given that our DM loves for everything to be invisible. And he let the thief just buy that, whereas I had to argue for almost an hour to get my sword. And but so because that gives him 30 feet of blind sense, he detected the hidden drow, and so we fought them and took them down. Um, I took blind fighting as an ability on my fighter because of how often we ran into invisible enemies. Um, and I was pretty shocked. Actually. Anyways, we fought those guys. I'll talk about why I was shocked in a second here, but we fought those guys, and then we opened the door and we talked to some hobgoblins for a hot second, and then the DM wanted to call it there because he didn't plan for this week. Um, so there's a new campaign book coming out next week that sounds fun. And so I'm always joking that one of the other guys needs to run it. I'm still going to talk about why I was shocked. But I want to talk about this too. And so the DM, who's always complaining about how little time he has to prepare for our sessions, then walks that guy through what happens when you purchase a Roll20 campaign and states that the entire campaign is loaded into the system for you and that all the guys are already in place and everything, and that all you have to do is make the tokens for the players available on the map. And that's it. That's all he does to prepare for our sessions. Because he obviously doesn't read ahead of time. I mean, I don't either when I'm running my session, for the most part. I do read like the storyline for the dungeon we're in, but I don't read the individual room stuff necessarily. Like I'll read through it once just to see if things are connected in some way. Um, but for him to go, I can't run this next section because I'm not prepared, is a strange thing to say when you then have a conversation saying, "Oh yeah, it does it all for you." But so the reason I was shocked was the rules in D&D aren't always clear. Uh, Given the fact that there are rules on how something works, and then there are rules on something that changes the rules of how something works, or abilities that change how something works. Um, Sometimes it's hard to decide how things are supposed to work together. And so one of those things is invisibility. And I talked about this before. Basically, some abilities are bullet point when they're listed in the book, and so the abilities are taken as separate parts of the skill. And so, for example, a Great Weapon Master skill has a bullet point that if you kill something with melee, you then get to take an extra attack um, as a bonus action. and it doesn't specify in that bullet point that it has to be a great weapon. But I feel like it's a great weapon master, so shouldn't it be a great weapon? I don't ever not fight with great weapons with my fighters. I like the concept in my head of a fighter carrying a big old sword, and I've never been a big fan of sword and board, as it's called, carrying a sword and a shield. I played a paladin once. I didn't like it. I know. I don't have anything to eat though, buddy. I don't think I've got. Maybe I better go check. Let me go check here while I wrap up my story here. Yeah. See, I've got no meat left over. For some reason. I mean, I guess it could. Chicken soup is 10 food. 10 food. 5 food. No, this is 15 food. Alright, well, I'll eat what little bit of food I got then. I'm not eating the dog food because I don't care that it's 10 food. So oh, is that not the one I was working on? So some of the people who work for the company will go and they will tweet answering questions from people, and our DM likes to pretend that those are the rules. Uh, and uh, and so one of the things that had happened, we had a huge argument. Now we like to argue with each other. Don't think that we just hate each other or something. We really do like to argue with each other. And so he is of the opinion that whatever these guys says is the gospel for rules. And I'm always like, listen, if it works in my head as how it should work, sure. But if they say something, and sometimes they say dumb things, then I'm not gonna follow that rule when I DM. That's all there is to it. I don't have to follow them. You don't have to follow the book. It's not like you're playing a board game. We already changed some of the rules to fit the way we want to play. So there's some things I just won't do. And one of those things that I will not do is I will not run invisibility with bullet points. I don't care it's written in the book in bullet points. The concept is idiotic. And that concept is if you cast invisible, you can't be seen. Bullet point. Second bullet point. Attacks against you have disadvantage. Attacks by you have advantage. Okay? Why? Why do you have advantage on those attacks? Why do you have disadvantage on attacks against you? It's because you're invisible. It's logic. I don't care it's a separate bullet point. It's logic. All right? Uh, I could kind of see the great weapon master thing because there's weapon master as part of it, but there is no I get advantage on my attacks even if you can see me because I cast the invisibility spell on myself. That's not a thing. I don't. It's dumb. And so one of the things that they talked about in that ruling that they called a ruling was that even if you have see invisible, which lets you see invisible creatures as if they were not invisible, they still have advantage on their attacks and disadvantage on attacks against them. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And they're like, well, that's the way the rules are written. It's a separate bullet point from the invisibility part. I'm like, no, that's dumb because it's all under the invisibility spell. If you are no longer invisible to that person, then you don't get the benefits of being invisible. That's it. That's all there is to it in my head. And so I was very surprised because it hasn't been that long since they since they said that, and that we had our huge argument about it. Well, he just went ahead and let the rogue roll as if they were visible, and I was very shocked because he had argued so hard against me that in his campaigns he's going to do what those guys say, and well, this is his campaign that we're playing here, and and yet he didn't. So yeah, I was pretty shocked that he didn't make the thief roll at disadvantage for his attacks because the uh, the dudes were invisible, and so they should have been disadvantaged on those attacks. Well, this has cleared up most of an area that I want to put my garden in here on the roof. I got a little bit more to go here. Unfortunately, I'm out of food and I'm dying from disease, and I got a busted up hand. It might be a laceration. Yeah, oh, it is a laceration. Look, I could have bandaged that. Oh no. Oh no, deep laceration is needle and thread, right? Yeah, it is. Um but yeah, so we'll have to go out and hunt down some food or something next time, but for now, be better in the small things, lean in the light, and I will talk to you later.